Hey 302, it's Jackie Ferris. Have you got some clutter around your house, some stuff you just don't know what to do with? Well, this week on the 302, we're going to teach you how to go from mess to yes. Hey there 302, who doesn't have that room somewhere that has all of our winter clothes, our kids' projects, maybe some Christmas stuff? You haven't been in there in a while and it just seems to get out of hand. When do you know when it's time to reach out and get help from a professional? We're joined by Holly Listener, who has done just that. We're going to talk to her a little bit about why. Holly, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Jackie.
So you have a beautiful home here, but you have, like most of us, this one area that you kind of was a catch-all for everything. Talk to me about this space.
Yes, well, I have 3 children, and as they grew up, there was this constant inflow of artwork and toys and books, but never an outflow. So we got to a point where I was just putting it out of sight, but making those rooms virtually unusable. So I had this idea that I could handle it and I could clear this clutter out, but was never doing anything more than just a superficial cleanup. And the problem was never solved. So in meeting Sue and bringing her into this project, it really was the catalyst that allowed me to think through my space, think through how we use things, really think through of what was worth keeping and worth letting go. And it enabled me to move on with organizing the rooms, buying furniture, completing house projects, and making this whole part of our home usable and enjoyable to use.
Right. So we're going to talk to Sue in just a little bit, but let's walk it back a little bit.
Sure.
Pre-Sue.
Okay.
When you said you tried to handle this, and I know in my own life, whenever I have a room that I'm trying to get organized, I'll start on it and then something will interrupt me and then it's a bigger mess than it was before. Did you experience that?
Definitely, and just by the nature of what I was working with, whether it was art or photographs or any of those more nostalgic items, I would find myself looking through them and reminiscing about what was involved in that.
It was a great vacation.
Exactly, the time would be spent and I would be left with a partially completed project and then would not get back to it, because the other thing is I do have an underlying tendency to procrastinate. Sure. So I would sort of wait until it was, we would be having guests or a party or something and be under the gun to get things done. So it was never done beyond the superficial level. So I'm delighted now that I've been able to really clear out what I call the underbrush and really be left with the real higher quality.
Now, how did that underbrush make you feel? Like I said, I mean, I've seen your house. It's meticulous. Upstairs, you come in, everything's nicely appointed. So I would imagine that what did it make you feel like whenever you came down the stairs and you saw the kids stuff and all the various things?
Well, it's overwhelming, first of all, because it seems too large to handle. And it would just weigh upon me that, I need to get this done. It's so much more to do. So I was never able to really move forward, as I said, in any of these projects. When I knew I wanted to get a space like I have in this room where there would be a sofa set up where the kids would feel comfortable to go down and watch TV or watch a movie or play video games with their friends, I felt as though I had this large project that needed to be completed before I could do that. And I'm really glad to have that behind me.
So what was the process leading up to reaching out for help? Did you struggle for a while and then you were like, I'm gonna do it, or how did that work?
I went back and forth. I think when I finally realized I do need to bring in somebody knowledgeable and experienced in this, it really was such a relief to me, because I reached out to Sue and found her as one of the most highly credentialed professionals in the Delaware area. She came up with a very clear plan, and it was going to take time, and it was going to take a combined effort. It wasn't, Sue, come in and do this for me. It was, let's work together and think through the space. And it was a really helpful discipline for me to take a step back and think through really how do I use this space and move beyond sort of a nostalgic tie to things and just to say, you know what, I think I'm done with this, and create space for other things in my life.
So it wasn't all, I'm going to write a check and she's going to take care of this with her magic wand. I mean,
No.
you had to do the work.
Absolutely. And I think what that also enables is it makes it much more easy for me to maintain it, because now I know where everything goes and I know the thought process but behind why it goes there. So I'm able to keep things keep things organized in a sustainable way.
What was that process like, you know?
So we would work in 3-hour blocks, and it was funny, I joke with Sue that I'd spend the first hour saying, oh, I don't know, I like this. And once I hit that 60-minute mark, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Let's get rid of it all. So it was sort of this process where we would set a goal for the day. I would sort of get through that first hour, and we would get, at the end of that 3 hours, the space would be clean, tidied, and then everything would be designated to be taken to donations, to be thrown away. So when you got to that 3-hour end, I wasn't left with a half-completed project. I was left with the goal achieved, and again, it is a palpable feeling of weight lifted once you're completed that process.
Now, I know that there are people at home that are saying to themselves, oh, I would love to have this happen in my world, but they're worried about being judged. Talk to me about that piece of it.
Oh, and that's a very natural feeling, but I found it very valuable working with Sue that there was no judgment. She wasn't focused on anything other than how do you use this? What are you trying to achieve? How can we get there? And just was very pragmatic about getting to that goal. But I've never had to worry about her judging or overthinking any of this.
We all have the room that we need to work on.
Yeah.
And so excellent. Well, thank you so much,
Yes,
Holly,
thank you
for joining us, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and you're watching The 302.
Welcome back. We're talking about how to go from mess to yes, and we're going straight to the expert. This is Sue Frost, and you are, correct me if I got this wrong, you are the only certified
Professional
organizer in Delaware.
That's right.
So you are the bomb.com when it comes to this topic, correct?
I've not said it before, but yes, I guess you could say that.
So everybody at home is I'm sure intrigued by this. They would love to have someone come in and help them deal with, the space that we all have, right? So, but there are some fears that some of them might have. Talk to me a little bit about helping people get over, being, embarrassed about the space that they have accumulated.
Well, it's a common thing that people will say to me, either in emails or over the phone, that they're afraid of being judged. People feel like I'm the only one. Another common stumbling block is that people feel like they need to clean up before I get there.
Of course.
And what I tell them is it really helps not to do that, because I sort of act as a detective. I come in and I can see where things pile up, and then I can start to solve the problem, whatever the challenge may be. If this is where the school bags or purse and keys fall, I can start to solve and present solutions to organizing that. Where did the clothes fall? Is the hamper needed there? And so forth. Seeing things and where they pile up is part of solving them.
So if somebody decides, okay, I'm going to have you come in and you start doing that, what is the process that they go through with you? Because it's not, they write a check and you come in and solve all the problems. This is you got to do the hard work.
Right, and Holly was very much a part of that process. And it's a good, what I call a needs assessment. And that is trying to make the future client at ease and talking to me about what their stumbling blocks are and what their goals are for their home or for their office. And the more I know about whatever challenges there might be and what their goals are, the better able I am to create solutions. So it really is important to make that person feel comfortable, because if there are stumbling blocks, maybe a lifelong issue with ADD, or if something has changed in the family and that's created a problem, either it's a loss, the two people merging households, those are keys that help me to create solutions and organizational systems. And the key is, it's not a surface issue, it's organizational systems that help each person not only gain order but maintain order.
Is it difficult at times? Because I was thinking whenever we were setting up for this show that, you know, I have so much stuff that, you know, I have a personal attachment to. How do you work with a client whenever you're trying to get them organized? Because some stuff, you know, you need to let someone else use it. You know, it needs to be reused by someone else. Some things, you know, you can put on a shelf or you can put on display, but how do you work with a client in letting go?
Well, and people come to me with different levels of readiness to let go of things. And then we talk about it. I present them with questions about, you know, when do you use this? Do you use it at all? When was the last time you used this? So some of them were practical. And then some of them address the emotional side. When you think about this, does it present really happy emotions, or are they sad? Is it something that you do want to have on a shelf, and does it evoke a happy time with your family? And do you want that reminder? There's different ways to hold on to things. My husband and I just downsized a bit, so I like to see the smaller space and look at it and say, I'm really surrounded by the things I love, not the things that are taking up space. And they are useful to me. And talk about that a lot with my clients. And moving out, because we pay for our homes, we pay mortgages or rent, we pay taxes. All that space costs us money, so we should be using every bit of it to live and entertain and not fill it as a storage space.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot. Whenever I'm being a television person, when I run into people, they go, oh, you should do a story on this, you should do a story on that. I'm sure hairdressers, everybody goes, what do you think of my hair? Now, I'm going to ask you, since you're our guru, what is your number one tip to give the folks at home for maybe, you know, getting rid of clutter? Is there a method that we can use? A little takeaway from today.
Well, we talked just briefly about that needs assessment and the goal. Mm-hmm. And every space, every room should have a goal. What do you want this to look like? What do you want the room to serve? And then all decisions revolve around that. So when you're looking at each piece, does it fulfill that goal, or does it hinder your process in achieving the goal that you want for your surroundings?
So if we say, okay, in my office, I've got a snow globe that I've had forever. I don't even know where I got it, and it doesn't really do anything for the process of being creative or working on whatever it is I'm working in the office. And what do I do with it if I'm going to get rid of it? What do I do with it?
Well, you know, and there's many answers to that. If you have gently used items, we have some great resources, really countless resources here in Wilmington. Goodwill is a lovely organization that helps train people to go out into the workforce. Mm-hmm. Another one is the Ministry of Caring, which I love, and I've brought so many things there. And I wish I could take clients along. And one particular time I was dropping off, carload, and a woman was in there, and I'm not really sure what she was there for. They have any number of services. And she was looking at the very nice things I was dropping off, and she said, "Can I have this?" And that's what it was there for. So when we hesitate to let go of things that just were in the back of our closet for years, and you see an example like that, that the decision is made. When something is not used and someone would love to have it or can use it for a new job, or it can be a beautiful thing in their home, it's so much easier.
So if you look at it like it's a gift.
It's a gift to our community, and someone could desperately need that where it's just clutter in our home.
Alrighty, and we're going to be talking about Holly's home, and we'll be right back to do that.
I'm Harper with Hagley Museum, and we love the 302.
Welcome back. We talked about the misgivings that some people might have in getting a professional. We talked about the process. Now let's talk about the outcome. We have Sue and Holly here, and we're actually in the space. And one of the things that stuck out to me as you were talking about the various things is the artwork. Talk to me about where it was before the process began and how you got it all up on the walls.
Well, as we organize the space, we typically just gather all the art and put it in one location if it weren't stored away already. And then when the organizing was finished, that was the time to draw on that because Holly wanted to do some design work. So we were able to pick out some things that were very special to Holly and her family and just select perfect places for those. Do you want to talk about what was meaningful to you?
Yeah, I mean, I love to take photographs, and I like to be surrounded by things that remind me of meaningful events in life. So I do think I have an oversupply of things that could go on the wall, but because I couldn't figure out where, they just piled up, and I needed the help of Sue to come in and help me think through the space so I could actually get them on the wall and enjoy them.
So from leaning on the wall to up on the wall, and even in your foyer upstairs, you have a really nice arrangement that you were talking about.
Yeah, and I love to look at it every time I walk through.
And this is part of the whole thing. It's not just the organizational, but it's like once you get it all cleaned up, it's like helping, like for instance, this couch, figuring out, talk to me about that.
So we measured the room. We knew she needed a couch to accommodate the kids, for her own children, for them to have friends over. We also needed a table and chairs for studying, which would later become a space for her to do volunteer work. So this is what we came up with to accomplish those needs. And then we moved on to using some of the things that she had, the other decorative things. And these are the things that make a house a home, that you love and use, and some have been handed down. Over the piano, you'll see a picture of a church, and that is St. Joseph's on the Brandywine. That's where Holly and her husband were married.
Nice.
So that's a very special piece. Over here on the left, you'll see a cityscape of New York and the Brooklyn Bridge. This is from when Holly had her first place in New York. So that was incorporated into the design. And behind us, Holly and her husband, their alma mater, Bucknell. This is emblematic of those times, and that was a surprise gift for your husband, wasn't it?
It was, and it was, the artist was my cousin's husband, so, but again, I wouldn't have pulled the trigger, to, so to speak, on purchasing furniture or purchasing artwork if I didn't have a very confident sense of where it would go and if it was the right choice for the room. So again, I credit Sue for helping me think that through.
Even decided on the drapes together because not only are they decorative and aesthetically nice, but they block the sun for overnights, and they block sound because right up those stairs is the main part of the house. So when the kids were a little boisterous or they're watching a movie with the sound up or video games, the sound wouldn't travel right up the stairs.
So these are all aesthetically pleasing, but yet they are functional. They solve a problem.
Yes.
So pictures of mementos that aren't being cherished as they could be, and blocking sound. But one of the things that you really needed help, I guess, getting organized and put up were your situation with your books.
Yes, we do love to be surrounded by books. And my children have a certain selection of school books that One we'll use 1 year, and then the next one we'll use 2 years later. So I needed a central place where I could just put those school textbooks as well as reading books, so that when that time came, getting ready for September, I just had one part of the house to look for, so I didn't have to go back and repurchase the books or spend excess time tracking them down.
And that's one of the areas that organization, not only is it pretty to look at, but it saves you money because you're not repurchasing those books or looking to find them every year. They're just there, and you know until the last one's out of school that you have what you need.
That's a good point, very good point. Now when you come down here, before you'd be like, oh my goodness, now.
Yes.
What do you feel when you come down here?
Oh, it's a pleasure. I was saying to Sue the other day, my oldest is graduating from high school, so there's a lot of collages and things I have to put together for these mementos, for these various graduation events. And it was a pleasure to come down knowing exactly where all the photos from the various years would be, and be able to work at it, know where the glue gun is, and just know I could work in a pleasant, clean space and put everything back in the set place and go about my business.
And maintain it, yeah.
And then
that's
maintain
the big thing,
so,
is maintaining it.
So having access to everything and knowing where it is just such a benefit from all of this work.
So do you have a tip to help people work on maintaining?
Well, maintaining is part, I look at every organizing job as two-part. Part is clearing the clutter, and part is really creating systems together so that you store things in a logical place and it works for you, not just for everybody. The closer it is to where you use it, the more likely you are to retrieve it and put it away to make it easy and efficient. So, and everyone in the family should know where it is so that everybody can be a part of it.
That's right. Now, before we go, a website, if someone wants to know more about your services or the tips or just anything about your website, what is your address?
www.organizemylife.net.
Excellent. Sue, Holly, thank you so much for inviting us in and sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
And we'll be right back. That'll do it for this episode. Until next time, we'll see you on the 302.